Welcome back to another video. So today we're talking about the 4% rule. So for those of you who do not know, the 4% rule is what people in the financial independence retire early or FIRE movement use to calculate how much money they will need to be able to retire early and have enough money so that they never have to work again, and that money will, the interest from that money will support their lifestyle indefinitely. So if you are new to my channel, I talk about financial independence, retiring early, and frugality tips, stuff like that. So if you're new and that is something that interests you, please consider subscribing and smash that like button. Let me know what you want to hear next down in the comments. It really makes a big difference, and I appreciate the ton of support I've been getting, and my channel has over doubled in like a few days here. So really excited about that. Alright, so the 4% rule. So I want to retire early. I want to retire at around the age of 30, and I am 23 right now, and I'm on a pretty good track to make that number. So where do I get my number from? Where do I know how much money I'm going to need in order to be able to retire early? Now this is where the 4% rule comes in. Now the 4% rule is based off the Trinity Study, which we'll cover in a second. It pretty much tells us that if we times our expenses by 25, we will be able to live off 4% of that indefinitely. So what does that mean for me or you? So right now I have very low expenses. I'm under $20,000 in yearly expenses just because I have done house hacking, so I have no living expenses, and I've really optimized everything else. But let's say down the road they jump up to $40,000, and that's what I think I'm going to need indefinitely in order to retire. So let's say $40,000 times 25, so remember that was the formula, is gonna land us at $1 million. So now I know that I'm going to need $1 million. So that $1 million is not just sitting in a bank account. That $1 million has been invested, it has been growing for 10 or 20 years. Through real estate, through stocks and bonds. What the 4% rule or the Trinity Study was based on was on like stocks, 50% stocks, 50% bonds. So let's say that I invested, I was able to save up and I invested money, and it eventually grew to $1 million, and I needed $40,000 to live on. This is saying that I could live off that $40,000 which would be generated by that $1 million every single year. So I would be able to live off of that without ever having to touch the $1 million. All right, so you're thinking now, where did they get 4% from? Where is that a magical number? Well, let me just explain to you real quick. So the 4% rule is based off what you're gonna land in the stock market. So on average, you're gonna have about a 7% return over the past, I believe it was over 100 years. So why isn't this called the 7% rule? Well, you're gonna have inflation. So inflation is gonna be around 3% a year. That is what it has been annually. So we're just gonna subtract that 3% from 7%. We're gonna land with 4%, and boom! Now we have the 4% rule. So this is telling me that I'm gaining 7% and then losing 3% to inflation. 4% is what I have left over. So I had 70,000 off that million, and then it dropped down to 30. I lost 30,000 of it to inflation, and then the 40,000 is what I have to live on, and I should never touch that $1 million. Now what happens if like the stock market goes down and stuff like that? Well, we can't predict the future, but this is telling us over history, you're gonna gain 7%. So you might have to wait that out. There's gonna be lows, but then there's gonna be even bigger highs, so it's all gonna equal out in the end. But according to the Trinity Study, the 4% rule will work like 96% of the time. So if you guys want to check out the Trinity Study, I'll link it down below. I'm not going to go through all into detail about that because I thought it was kind of boring, but this is pretty much what I gleaned from it, so I'll save you guys a bunch of time. So the Trinity Study is 96% accurate if you never make a dollar after you retire, which I think for most of us, we're going to continue to make money after we reach financial independence and we retire from wage-paying work. We're still going to make some money from something. And I think if you are entrepreneurial, whatever, you saved enough money to get to $1 million or whatever the number happens to be for you, you're probably gonna end up making more money after you retire. Just from boredom, you'll find something to do that'll end up making money. So if 96% is not good enough for you and you want to get to 100% even after 30 years, then you can move to the 3% rule, which is gonna be 100% of the time it has worked out in the past. I'm not saying the future is going to be exactly like the past, but it probably will be over the past 100 years. So that is the 4% rule. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm going to be referencing this again when I talk about the math to early retirement, and I have talked about this before, so I wanted to just get it out there so you guys know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a very good day.